Yes, like Victor said, my title of my presentation today is the safety outcomes of equity, diversity, and inclusion in mining. And so this is a research partnership that's been developed between CROSH and Vale. And just to start this conversation, I'd like to start by framing the conversation a little bit around equity, diversity, and inclusion, and or EDI, and as it relates to human factors and ergonomics, or HFE, as you're going to see in the presentation. But I was attending a workshop on universal design in academia, and the teacher used this really cool analogy. So there was a heavy snowstorm, and the ramp and stairs are both covered in snow. Just checking, making sure everyone can hear me. There's a heavy snowstorm, the ramp and the stairs are both completely covered in snow. The maintenance person is shoveling the ramp. Some of the workers then ask the maintenance person to quickly shovel the stairs so most of us can get in the building and get working. But the maintenance person says, but if I shovel the ramp first, then everyone can get in. So after a storm, if we shovel the accessible and ramp entrances before the stair entrances, everyone can access the doors as opposed to a select few. And this is really, universal design is all about selecting the best solution that's going to work for everyone. So throughout my presentation, you'll see most examples use the comparative difference between biological sex, so male and female. But that's not the limit of this research or the outcomes at all. In human factors and ergonomics, we are always aiming for a universal design where our solutions are going to increase the safety and well-being of everyone. So this is the foundation of HFE solution design. And I just wanted everyone to keep this in mind as we go through the presentation. So Vale has set very specific goals for gender, LGBTQIA+, ethno-racial, people with disability, recruiting local talent, and inclusion. So for example, with gender, Vale wants to double representation of women in the next 10 years and reach a mark of 20% of women in senior leadership positions globally. The benefits of increasing equity, diversity, and inclusion within a company have been researched, and they're really well documented. So it promotes trust and employee engagement. There's a lot of increases in job satisfaction, also increases patient client satisfaction, and in turn can improve outcomes. So we're talking clinically here. There's increases in cultural competency and cultural humility to achieve equity and justice. It generates a sense of fairness, belongingness, uniqueness, and diverse climate culture among employees, which ultimately leads to the greatest innovation at the workplace. And for our bottom line, business audience, increases in sales revenue, the number of our customers, there's greater market share, and relative profits. So while there are very tangible reasons for promoting diversity and inclusion, and often a business case can be made, the argument's more compelling. To make the argument more compelling, it's also, simply put, the right thing to do. And so the commitment to equity, diversity, and inclusion directly overlaps significantly with occupational health and safety of the workers. So acknowledging that there are and will be differences in how employees experience their work environment, and that these unique differences need to be factored into truly inclusive workplace design so they can fully contribute to the organization's culture and business outcomes is imperative. So we've established a research partnership with Vale to help with some of the safety outcomes of their EDI commitments. We've proposed a 2-year plan with 4 research objectives. So we'd like to complete a vehicle inventory review, a manual materials handling review. From here, design purchasing process, educational for prevention, and assist with workshop and knowledge transfer exchange material development. We'll be using 2 major data collection approaches. So one will be with the vehicle inventory review, and the second one will be with this manual materials handling review. And to understand the foundation for a vehicle inventory review, we must first understand the use of anthropometric data. And so anthropometric data is human body shapes and sizes, so lengths and circumferences. This kind of data typically involves a large range in age, so adults from 18 to 65 years old, The data is normally divided based on biological sex, so between male and female. The sizes of people is significantly different based on nationality. So for example, people from the Netherlands are bigger than people from America, who are typically bigger from the people from Italy. And over time, the ethnic makeup of a population can really change from immigration and emigration. So these measurements are the foundation of anthropometric design. The physical size, the postures that are adopted, and the tasks that can be performed are all influenced by some degree to anthropometry. So let's look at an example here of sitting height. So on average, males sit taller than females. So sitting height affects the line of sight, our ability to see our controls, our interfaces, the mirrors, any pedestrians. That can vary depending on our seated height. So it can also affect the head clearance. When we combine this with vibration of heavy vehicles, it can truly affect the operator's safety. So our tallest operators, they may be at risk of hitting their head. So when we say changes in line of sight, this is what's really meant by that. So as Dr. Godwin has so graciously given me some of her research results, we're going to use this LHD example here. So these are visibility plots from the Jack software. It's a modeling simulation software where you can input the measurements and design the environment, and it lets you use different size avatars according to their anthropometric models with race and percentile to determine different factors. So in this case, visibility. The LHD is the vehicle in the middle here. The red is the obstructed vision, and the green is the visible portion. So in this first plot, we're looking at the 5th percentile male from US military data. So smallest, and the seats set to the lowest setting. And in this case, visibility in the 360-degree view here is 19%. Which, if you're unfamiliar with LHDs, the operator is actually sitting in here, and they really can't see behind the back at all, just based on the design of these vehicles. So if we look at the same scenario with the seat in its lowest setting again, now using the 95th percentile US male, this is how the visibility changes. So it's now up to 22%. But the areas where the operator can and can't see have also now changed. And you can see that in these black rectangular areas that I've outlined here for you. So we can also set the simulation to use the same avatars, so our 5th and 95th percentile male, only now we've adjusted the seat, so it's at the highest setting. Again, this changes the areas of visibility, ultimately changing the line of sight. So this is not to say that we need to recruit vehicle operators based on their size, because you can see in this case, neither of these options are truly safe for any pedestrian walking near these vehicles. But it is to say that we need to recognize that there will be differences. The sitting height is not the only measurement for cab operation. We need the leg length to the pedals, the arm length for the controls. So to make sure safety is a top priority, our solutions have to work for the highest and lowest end of our anthropometric spectrum. And so these vehicles need solutions for their visibility to begin with. This is why testing the camera and detection systems is so necessary. Mining uses a lot of different vehicles. So from small vehicles, we've got forklifts to light duty trucks to their larger vehicles like the LHD, jumbo drills and haulage or rock trucks. The major problem being that worker specifications for cab and operational design have typically only considered male biometric data at the design stage. And so a key problem encountered when workplaces attempt to diversify their workforce by gender includes design flaws, which prevent or impair the ability of women to actually do the job. So in this case, operate a vehicle. So phase one of our project will be this vehicle inventory review, where we'll evaluate and review the characteristics of the fleet. And so measuring things such as the seat adjustability, access to steering controls, the pedal distances, any of the guardrails, hand grips, and the egress and ingress accessibility, and determine which vehicles in their current state can safely be operated by which anthropometric sizes, almost like a fitment guide. So you're probably asking yourself, if we already know about all these problems and reduce line of sight, why can't we just redesign all the vehicles? So bottom line, we don't have Elon Musk money, and this is the kind of money it would actually take to completely redesign and remanufacture underground mining heavy equipment. So obviously not all jobs include use of heavy equipment. The second approach will include a review of manual materials handling tasks. So in collaboration with internal Vale experts, CROSH is going to be helping identify manual materials tasks that are creating challenges. So we're going to use existing FJAs or functional job analysis, and in some cases, task measurement and analysis with the JAX software again. CROSH will assess the task and make suggestions, modifications, either in how the task is being performed, or the materials required to manage the task differently, including if a cost analysis is necessary. So the functional job analysis, these have already in existence for Vale, and so they actually include the job objective and description, the physical demands analysis with the overall demand rating, identification of essential job functions, and some posture analysis for those functions have already been identified. So in total, there are actually 113 jobs flagged as having a 50-pound lift requirement to date. And they're pretty evenly distributed across the mine sites featured here. So 113 jobs to be fully reviewed or solutions designed is a lot in a year or so. So we are going to try to group them and prioritize them to be a little bit more strategic in our approach. These jobs were evaluated between 2000 and 2016. So we do need to prioritize them based on whether they're still being completed and are they still being completed in the same manner as when the evaluation occurred. Then it's looking more specifically at like the frequency of lifts. Are these just one-off tasks, or are these tasks that are completed all the time? And then more specifically, which of these jobs have previously been identified as having an EDI problem? Meaning not everyone can actually do them. So the manual materials handling tasks also need to be prioritized to have measurements taken if we want to do some of this JAX solution simulation. So the JAX software can also model MMH tasks. In this example, we can see a 5th percentile Asian female model anthropometrics being used in a warehouse. So in the first photo on top there, she can't reach the parts safely, but by providing a small step stool, it allows her to reach them fairly safely, which is a pretty easy and cost-effective solution to that type of problem. Obviously, we can't model every situation, but we are going to try to be tactful in selecting which of these tasks we do this for. Ones where it might be necessary to test a solution prior to purchasing it. We also have to keep in mind the hostility of the underground environment. So the solutions must also be able to survive the heat and humidity of underground conditions. Moving forward, we would probably suggest an inclusive design and purchasing approach to be adopted by Vale. If the next decision has included gender considerations, Vale can prevent gender-specific problems in the future. We're also going to be working to develop a customized training program about inclusive design to support EDI. So this educational package can create a foundation for use in other departments. So we build a common baseline knowledge of EDI concepts across all the departments. So this might look like our knowledge transfer kits that we have previously developed for vibration, line of sight, and fatigue hazards with mobile equipment operation. So they look like this, like in these cases, and they include the specifics for each hazard. So there are field hazard analysis, safety check cards, workplace posters, there's presentations in there, safety presentations, all the information for the presenter. And these can be used and given to companies as a universal material to deliver their safety talks on. So I'd really like to thank the team involved in this project with Dawn, Cassidy, Trevor, and Donna from Vale, and Sandra and Allison from CROSH. We really look forward to continuing to progress through this project. Finally, I'll just leave you with diversity and inclusion lead to improved business outcomes, and diversity means more than just having a sprinkle of women and a dab of color. So I can take any questions at this point.
Thank you, Dr. Goggins, for your amazing presentation. We have 2 questions right now. The first one is, can structural changes just allow more visibility, like cameras?
For the vehicles, constructural changes allow more visibility. So in that example, in that instance with the LHD, there are camera systems that can assist. There are limitations to attaching the camera systems and detection systems. And then there's also management of those kinds of changes. So when we implement a camera system or detection system, it's also about training the workers to use those effectively. And so they can change the line of sight, as in, yes, you might be able to look at the camera and see more. Is it going to be the quickest and easiest solution as far as the full redesign for the Elon Musk money? Yes, it would be easier, but those also need to be tested as well.
Of course, thank you.
No
what kind of impacts do you expect these modifications to have for male workers?
So I expect actually that the whole concept here is to universal design, to propose the best solutions that are going to work for everyone, regardless of gender. And so making sure that, again, we also capture, the smallest male population would be captured if we made solutions for the smallest female population, and making things more accessible for anyone with disability. And so it's really thinking about solutions design in its entirety. And again, remembering we are trying to have a universal design so that nobody is limited by the solution.
True. Thank you very much. I think I speak for everyone when I say you gave us a lot to think, Dr. Goggins. Thank you very much for your presentation. Thank you to participants for your kind questions.
Awesome. Thanks, Victor.